Hello, and welcome to Scott's Odyssey. What do you call a location where you can find the apparitions, monsters, and cultists in Pennsylvania? Chickies Rock, of course. See you in a minute. Welcome back. If you've watched my videos before, thank you for your patronage. And if you're new to Scott's Odyssey, welcome aboard. Chickies Salonga, a Susquehannock word for place of crayfish. That was the original name of a long ridge found along the Susquehanna River in West Hempfield Township, Lancaster County, just a stone's throw away from the borough of Columbia, formerly known as Wright's Ferry, which it is often used to misname this actual location. It's also the eastward extension of the Hellam Hills. Yes, the same Hellam Hills that house the 7 gates to hell. With one exception. This portion of that ridge was cut through by the Susquehanna River. But that doesn't mean the mystical powers existing within this land was removed. Today's name of this site is Chickies Ridge, with Chickies Rock, the largest exposed anticline on the east coast, where an anticline describes a rock formation that folds the stone in an arch-like manner similar to the Great Wall of Pennsylvania, more commonly called the Lewistown Narrows, which was one of the deadliest stretches of highway in the United States until about the year 2000. But that's for another story. Chickies Rock stands 200 feet above the Susquehanna River and is made of quartzite, or more accurately, quartz-arnite. Aside from all this impressive geology that should be keeping you in awe, I'm going to assume that it's not what brought you here. You want the story about this site that makes it interesting enough for me to bring it to the Odyssey. Well, in order to tell you that story, we need to jump ahead a few million years past the formation of this gap to a time when the natives lived in the area. You see, there are stories about this area that go way back to a time where there may or may not have been, let's say, more interesting creatures than that which we know today. Those who know the story of Chickies Rock, when attributed to the natives, will also tell you the story of Lover's Leap, where Wanunga and Wanhuta cuckolded her husband while he was away on a trading expedition, and she had done it with nothing less than a local white settler. You see, this site was off limits and possibly sacred for a series of other reasons we'll get into in a bit. But these two culturally star-crossed lovers would sneak away to this site and do whatever cheaters and star-crossed lovers do in locations that they're not supposed to be. Unlike the Princess Bride, we will not be getting into those details. In the end, when Nunga chopped up the white man and tossed him off the cliff, and Wahuta cried out, "No!" And hearing this final cry of betrayal, Wanunga grabbed his wife and launched himself with wife in tow to a mutual death on the rocks below. And many people will attribute a spirit amongst the ridge existing to warn people off from this place of danger. But you see, that spirit was already known to be there for a long period of time, even before the time of a Lover's Leap was determined. The local native tribes are said to have had encounters with a spirit in corporeal form that protected this sacred ridge, one that they were so afraid of that they painted this creature on their shields. This creature would appear as a short, maybe 4 foot tall, slender, extremely hairy, ape-like man with yellow eyes. The creature used to steal apples and hide in trees, and if you got too close to Chickies Rock, it would throw those apples at you. They called this creature the Maguma o Wisoos. And tales have been spun well into the 1800s about this particular creature, to the point where it took on a new name, a name that came from the local German English language known as Pennsylvania Dutch, which we talked about in the first serial killer of Pennsylvania video. In English, the name was Apple Elf, or maybe Apple Spirit. Some even say it was Apple Snitch. But to us, we know it as another interesting cryptid of Pennsylvania called by its Pennsylvania Dutch name, the Albetwitch. This is not the history you are here for. And if it was, you'll have to wait, because the Albetwitch deserves its very own storytelling. No, we need to go deeper still and talk about the spirit aspect of what is found on Chickies Ridge and Chickies Rock. That story ties into what the natives believe about the site being sacred and full of special energies. In the 1880s, transportation in the United States started seeing a boom of trolleys. Now, we'd been using trolleys on rails for a long time before now, but these trolleys were interestingly special. These were the electric trolleys, a mode of transportation that granted much higher access to more places much more easily than their predecessors. And while Columbia, or more accurately Wright's Ferry, was a booming shadow city of Louisbourg, or more commonly Harris Ferry, and at this time officially renamed Harrisburg. And it was also a main route to the west and into the Allegheny Mountain passes. So with the new technology of electric trolleys, it just so happened, as new technology does, a boom of places to visit and picnic formed along the rail lines, including, as we learned in this story about the oldest operating roller coaster in the world, the Leap the Dips at Lakemont Park, amusement parks on trolley lines. In this area, the Columbia and Donegal Electric Railway planned a 4-mile stretch of rail to go between Columbia and Marietta over Chickies Hill, just past Chickies Rock, providing interconnectivity between the two cities, as well as a wonderful view of the Susquehanna River and the Wrightsville Valley. Well, their competitors, the Conestoga Traction Company, had their lines interconnecting several other nearby cities and had a couple of amusement parks in its lineup, one named Rocky Springs and the other one Maple Grove. This did not sit well with the denizens of Columbia, nor those of Marietta, for they too want their own amusement park. And as I am sure the owners of the Columbia and Donegal Electric Railway argued at the concept of making money on the weekends by building a tourist trap, well, that's exactly what they planned for when laying out the direction of the trolley rail line. The plan was to start in Columbia and place the tracks along the ridge with a 1,900-foot climb on a 6% grade to the west of Chickies Hill Road. And then it would turn sharply to the proposed Chickies Amusement Park and then down to Marietta. There was just one little problem. You see, people lived along the path that they wanted to carve out for this new trolley system. Fortunately, those people were extremely well compensated for their land and quickly turned over their deeds and titles to assist in this new endeavor of progress. That is, except for one holdout, who were approached multiple times, each time being offered a more and more handsome reparation for their land, and they continually turned down any offers. The holdouts were three sisters who lived in the middle of where the line would travel, right where the project had set to put the park. Now, these were not your normal three sisters living together in the woods on a spooky or haunted hill, if ever there could be a normal group of three sisters living together in the woods or on a spooky haunted hill. As a matter of fact, I don't even know if they were sisters in blood, but I do know that they were sisters in blood oath. You see, these three sisters were a wayward. You don't know what a wayward of sisters is. Okay, how about they were weird sisters? No, I don't mean they were weird or strange. Okay, they were a coven, yes, of witches. And from their perspective, they were absolutely content with living their lives together in the woods on a spooky or haunted hill. If anything, they did not want any part in a modern world or anything to do with technology or things that would take them away from the old ways. So without any further ado, the Columbia and Donegal Electric Railway began the building of their trolley line. When they approached from both sides the home of the three sisters, things got a little interesting. You see, the sisters never agreed to give up their ancestral home, nor their land, nor their rights. It stalled progress so much that the Columbia and Donegal Electric Railway discussed how to build the park around the sisters' home and land. But being that who we once were can sometimes be a little bit different than who we are now, there was a fear in the stigma that came with the fact that the sisters were witches, and the railway was extremely concerned that people would be afraid to ride the trolley past their home, let alone go and hang out at an amusement park. So that idea just kind of fell flat. So as people with money and power do, the Columbia and Donegal Electric Railway convinced the local officials of the cities and the county to grant them the sisters' land through eminent domain. The sisters still refused to leave. It is said that the sisters made a suicide pact and turned to the black arts or dark magic or dark spirits. I don't know what to call these things in this day and age, but you get the idea. They used their powers for wrongful purposes, and they placed a curse from the 6th and 7th books of Moses upon the land, seeking to bring death to the new owners for their greed. What's that? You never read the 6th and 7th books of Moses? It's kind of interesting read. And what I found most interesting, what? Oh, what is it? Sorry. The 6th and 7th books of Moses are the lost books of the Tanakh, or sometimes called the Mikra, which are the founding documents of the people of Israel, commonly referred to as the Hebrew Bible, broken into the Torah, Nevi'im, and the Ketuvim. And to all my Hebrew-speaking friends, I apologize for any mispronunciations. So the 6th and 7th books of Moses are much more focused on the Kabbalah and Talmud, talking about the old ways and the old arts of the Hebrews. The book itself is more of a grimoire, filled with creatures and magical incantations and seals, instructing the user of these old ways and how to create spells and miracles that are portrayed in the Bible, including magic names, words, symbols, and ideograms. Back to the story. Wait, side note. The book they use is claimed to be indestructible unless cast into fire by a boy whom is born on the Sabbath. You know the old saying, a child born on the Sabbath day is bonny and blithe and good and gay. Meaning he's beautiful or handsome, joyous and always merry, virtuous and helpful, and well, lighthearted and carefree. Now back to the witch's curse. As it would turn out, the removal of the sisters became seemingly uneventful, and the trolley line was completed in 1893. Or at least it was completed in the sense that they finished constructing the line. You see, the company began running into a large series of extremely expensive mishaps, rebuilding the track several times due to unforeseen failures, problems building the park, and once built, continued issues with the operation of the park, all the way up to 1896, when things got really bad. It was August 9th of 1896, and it was a wonderful Sunday with cool temperatures and a clear sky. People attended their church services and got together for a huge post-service picnic. Kids went off and played, adults kicked back in anticipation for that evening's events that would take them to Chickies amusement park for a concert of spiritual music played by a Christian band. Everyone was at the event, even people from other cities, now that there was a hub and spoke connecting the Columbia and Donegal Electric Railway with the Conestoga Traction Company lines. It's probably important to note that at this time, the Columbia and Donegal Electric Railway and the Conestoga Traction Company had merged, as many companies did at that time, to become the Pennsylvania Traction Company. That way, all the rail fans and electric trolley fans don't decide to go all social media retard keyboard warrior in the comments below, but I'm sure that even this warning won't stop them. Near the end of the event, the trolley began its trek back to the park from Marietta in order to be ready for the large number of people who would be seeking to get home before it got too dark. Unfortunately, out of nowhere, a large storm kicked up. As per safety guidelines, the trolley would be arriving late because it would be unsafe to run the trolley during a thunderstorm. Adam Folinger, the motorman of the four-wheel car number 61, and conductor Harry Hershey were overwhelmed by the passengers eager to get onto the trolley and get home before the storm made them, I don't know, more wet than they already were. Now, the safe capacity for one of these trolleys was 28 people. It is stated that more than 80 adults and children boarded the trolley. All seats were taken and there was no standing room, not even on the front and rear platforms. The storm cleared. The trolley began its trek moving toward the steep slope, increasing speed as it moved toward its destination. A signal to exit the trolley at Kleinsville showed the first signs of a problem. The trolley was unable to stop successfully and skidded 150 feet beyond the stop. The trolley continued down the slope. Due to the overweight encumbrance of all the passengers, the brakes failed to slow the trolley's speed. And as would be expected by any curse set forth from the passages of Moses, the next worst fate of the curse began. Yes, just as you would have guessed, the trolley was totally and completely swarmed by potato bugs. What? You thought a curse would just end with the brakes failing on the trolley? Millions of potato bugs swarmed over the trolley and the trees and the grass and, well, the rails. The brakes for the trolley were now fully ineffective, and the trolley continued at dangerous speeds down the slope of Chickies Hill. The trolley pole detached from the wire, removing any last hope at electrical power and completely casting the interior and exterior of the trolley into total darkness. The trolley had ultimately turned into an abysmal roller coaster from hell. The passengers screamed until they were silenced as the trolley came upon a curve, left the rails, and traveled across Chickies Road, crashing through a fence, turning onto its side, and continuing this heinous ride for another 75 feet before smashing through a tree, and then a trolley pole, and finally ending its cursed path by dropping off of a 30-foot embankment and landing on its roof. Sadly, 6 were dead, including the mayor, H.H. Heiss of Columbia, and the motorman. 68 others were seriously injured. Damage claims due to this accident ultimately led to the Pennsylvania Traction Company to go out of business and abandon the trolley line on April 25th, 1932. But our story doesn't end here. People are still seeing apparitions at Chickies Rock. In 1969, it practically caused mass panic when a group of kids saw an apparition between the trees and 2 large boulders. This sighting created a situation where hundreds of people were going up to the rock each night just to catch a glimpse of the spirit. It caused traffic jams and situations where the local municipal police departments had to call on state troopers to control all the masses of people and vehicles. They held seances and paranormal investigations to disprove the entity's existence. But even that has not slowed the sightings. Newspaper articles laid claim to no ghost showing up when they investigated it. But the claims of seeing the spirit continued to pour in. Those initial kids who claimed to have seen the spirit stated that they made it up after drinking wine. But those in the hundreds who came afterward claim they definitely saw the spirit. And the sightings have continued for decades. As recently as 2002, there have been claims from people seeing the small hairy beast and having bad experiences at Chickies Rock. Up until 1990, when a fence was put in, an average of 1 or 2 people have died at Chickies Rock every year. Even after putting the placement of the fence in 1990, over 5 people have fallen to their deaths. Although many people hike in the area, it has not stopped the sightings, nor the feeling of doom people claim about this particular area, especially at night. All the information I have provided to you is backed in newspaper articles. So tell me in the comments, what's going on at Chickies Rock? Is it the ancient native spirit protecting a sacred land? Maybe it's the albatwitch. Perhaps the religious incantation of the 3 sisters truly cursed the land for those with greed in their hearts. Maybe it has something to do with all the quartzite in the area holding on to energies and releasing them when the conditions are just right. Regardless of what you believe, Chickies seems like a place where you should express extra caution when you travel there. Or you may just end up getting hit in the head with an apple. I hope you enjoyed the history behind the haunt of Chickies Ridge. If you did, give the video a like. Let me know. It helps both the channel's performance and gives me significant insight into what to bring to you for the next video. If you haven't already, subscribe for notifications for when the next video is released. Share this out to your friends. And as always, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.